Happy New Year. All right. Well, it is a new year. It's a new start for lots of people, and you most likely have set your goals. So now it's time to take the training that we do here at Oxygen that we call tie game theory and put into practice with the goals that you set, the tie game theory. So we're going to go through this video today and kind of give you a super quick snapshot. If you haven't taken the training with us, just a couple of quick, maybe the first couple of steps on what to do to implement the tie game theory on your current goals. If you've already taken the training with us and you're an existing client, then this will just kind of be a really quick refresher on the first couple steps. And if you have more questions towards the end, we'll give you some contact information on how to reach out to us and set tie game theory training up for you and or your team. So we encourage organizations that we work with here at Oxygen to not so much set New Year's resolutions, but numbers goals. Obviously, companies that work on a fiscal calendar, come January, you have new numbers, you have new budget, you have everything kind of naturally rolls. So numbers are going to have a new outlook on the first of the year. So it's a little bit easier to take numbers and implement them when we start talking about the tie game theory. However, it can be implemented with non-number goals as well, and you can modify this throughout the year. So the first thing to do is take a look at the goals that you have set for yourself annually, semi-annually, quarterly, or monthly. I'm gonna suggest that if your goals are less than monthly, that we break them down a little bit differently, but it will work best at a monthly or larger goal. And make sure that you frame them in a positive form. So when I say positive form, I'm referring to not taking something away, but what are you gaining? So the easiest way to explain this is, I know a lot of people who start the new year and say, okay, I'm done drinking pop, or I'm done drinking alcohol, or I'm no more fast food for me. When I was a little girl, this was always the, what are you giving up for Lent? So same concept. I will encourage you to take that exact same idea and frame it in a positive note. So instead of saying I'm not going to drink pop, change it to be I'm drinking water. Instead of saying I'm not going to eat fast food, change it to be my plan is to meal prep. So it's what you're gaining from a situation, not telling yourself what you can't have. I think if you've ever been told you can't have something, it's like the ultimate teenager rebellion. If you've ever been said you can't have something, it just makes you want it more. I remember being pregnant with my oldest child. I'd never wanted a beer so bad in my whole life. And obviously you can't drink when you're pregnant. And after I had her, then they said, well, you really can't have any beer right now either. I was so upset. And I'm not even really a big beer drinker, but the idea that you're told you can't have something, right? So rather than saying, I can't have pop, I can't have fast food, frame your goals and kind of turn them around into what are you going to get to do rather than what you're taking them away. Okay, so now we have your goals kind of in a positive, if any of them were kind of flipped around. Now it's time to take the number portion and implement the tie game theory. So the tie game theory has a little bit of a number formula with them. You're gonna take the number that you have and multiply it by 1.5 and then divide it by the number of days you can change that number. So for a lot of people, the easiest way to do this is if you're in a sales role, you can work on a sales in a sales job, or you can make money in a sales job, typically about 25 days a month. So you would take your sales goal, multiply it by 1.5, then divide it by the number of days you have to achieve it. That sounds like not too bad. And the majority of the time you will not end up with a whole number. So you just need to round up. And then you're going to do that for each one of your goals. Very rarely do we all get to just do one thing. So just take each one of those numbers and divide it. Then you're going to go through those numbers every 1 to 2 weeks and recalculate. The reason being that if you have hit those daily goals or those weekly goals based on your tie game number, not your original goal, but based on your tie game number, then it's gonna fluctuate what you have to do for the rest of the week. So this is a very mind forward concept. This is not, oh, my goal back in January of 2020 was to lose 10 pounds and yeah, well, maybe next year. This is a very active calculation that you're constantly working. You're figuring the number, keeping it in your forefront, and then moving forward. And in a couple weeks, you're going to recalculate and go after that number again. It keeps the goal very in the forefront of what you're working for every day. So the goal times 1.5 divided by the number of days you can influence that number. If it were a weight loss type of number, then I would suggest that that's every day. You're looking to influence that number every day. If you have the ability to draw online sales and that number is influenced daily, obviously people can order. I love the concept of being able to make money while we sleep. So if that's an online number, that's an everyday. So that dividing number is 31 days or 30 days for the month is your dividing number. So that number is going to be just a little bit different for everybody. So for those of you who've actually studied tie game theory with Oxygen, you know that we still have to take into consideration other factors. And we talk about your position on the field. We talk about which team you're actually playing on, depending on whether you own the organization, you're a manager, you're an individual contributor, you are just a contributor on any level. You can be a part of different teams. So the tie game theory is not just that formula, and there's a ton of other things, other factors to consider. If you've taken our training, you know how to do all that, and that's not gonna all fit in the context of one of our short training videos. Make sure that you go back to your notes and you reference all of those pieces after you've calculated your number. For those of you who have not taken our training, you can start with that and see how you go. If you'd like some more information, obviously you can reach out to one of our coaches and we'd be happy to set you up in a training of multiple people or engage with your organization. For companies with production goals, so manufacturing companies that are manufacturing any kind of product and looking to get a set number out the door, you will likely face constraints that affect the goals of your organization. So obviously you look at your numbers from last year, you could potentially have purchase orders that are withstanding that you still have to fill. You have year over year goals. You know what you need fiscally to be able to keep your doors open, whether you're struggling or you're booming in this economy. So you will, depending on what the numbers that you set for your organization or that have been set for you, you will have constraints that maybe you aren't even aware of yet. So using a multiplier is what takes that original goal number needs to be ultra attainable. I have come into play with a lot of organizations who set a lofty goal, and that goal is great, but if that number isn't attainable, it doesn't allow for any manufacturing constraints or any flexibility in the organization. So it's very important for anyone who's watching this video that is in a manufacturing environment that has control over that first goal number to understand the importance of that number being attainable if we're going to implement the tie game theory. Because then breaking it down, once we implement the multiplier, it will allow you to see where your investment needs to go throughout the rest of the year. As your constraints become more visible and more apparent, then you'll be able to see where your capital investments need to go in the latter part of the year, where your time needs to be invested. And really, we talk a lot about your human inventory, where the smarts of your business need to be invested, where your smartest people's focus needs to be. Maybe you have invested in these people, but you realize they're too spread out, or they're focused on lesser projects and you're missing the big goal of the company because you're too focused on widening your spread. So as your year progresses with an attainable goal number, then using a multiplier will allow you to see how the constraint actually affects you without negatively affecting your profits in the end and your ability to continue to year over year grow. And hopefully in the end, you can see where those are early and then still meet those stretch goals that you have hopes and dreams for. I mean, that's kind of what we're all here for. We're here to make money. So for your personal goals and personal goals for salespeople, let's start there. Exceeding your sales goals, typically as a commissioned salesperson, that means making more money. And in my experience running a book of business, it allows you, when you inflate that number with a multiplier, so it's not just taking one number and just automatically making it bigger, but actually using a multiplier to make it bigger, you're allowing yourself kind of the bubble. You're blowing the bubble up and asking yourself to think outside the box. So how big can I blow my creativity up to actually inflate to that number? And again, similar to the manufacturing that we were just talking about, you're still not missing that main goal, that main part that allows you to keep your job, that allows you to keep your doors open. That's still the focus, but the multiplier allows you to think big. What do I have to do to dream big? Allow this bubble to get really big. Who are the other people I have to talk to? Who are the extra things, the extra places, the extra corners of the box that, if you live in a box and your circle is this big, who are the people that are up in these corners that you haven't missed? So it kind of allows you to stretch out a little bit more than you're typically that your brain allows you to get to. And I just think that you creatively end up in a different place and naturally allow that multiplier to kind of force you bigger. When it comes to your personal goals, and when I say personal in this respect, I'm talking more kind of along like your exercise, your budget, your health goals. Those are all kind of the same as well. Obviously, we want to make sure of all things these have that positive framing in them. None of us need to have a negative anything else at this point in our lives. So do they have a positive spin on them rather than, like we said, we're not taking anything away, but what can we do to spin them so that we're keeping things or giving ourselves something back? What are we stretching for? And adjusting as we go, adjusting that number as we flex. So this is always a popular one. So we'll just use the popular goal in the room. Everybody wants to lose weight. So if my goal is to lose 1 pound a week and I inflate that number and right off the bat, I'm doing really great and I lose 2 pounds a week. And as I start to get super creative and I'm only drinking water and I'm meal prepping and I'm exercising 30 minutes a day, right? So my number kind of gets big. I'm hitting that number. Then I start to recalculate and I hit it again and I hit it again. Then Easter comes and I've eaten too much candy and I start to kind of draw back. I'm still way ahead of that base number. So I can go back, recalculate, and I'm still ahead of that base number. And it keeps me going in a positive light to then, okay, recalculate, use the multiplier again, and go after it again without a daunting, unachievable number that's ahead of us all. I will just tell just a quick, I'm a runner. For those of you who know me personally, you know I'm a runner. I've been a runner for quite a few years just for my own personal health. And somebody threw out the challenge to run 2,021 miles this year. And I run with a pretty in-depth running group. So a lot of people accept that challenge, and I have a tendency to want to be competitive and do that kind of thing, but I don't necessarily have the time for that. So when I take that 2021, divide by 365 without a multiplier, I know that that's not feasible. So I went ahead and committed to 1,000 miles in 2021. Taking that number and dividing it by 365 and then calculating what I need to do every day is more in my wheelhouse. And I do that for my mental health and for to keep my migraines in check. So I knew then that that was an attainable goal. So then I took that number, the 1,000, I multiplied it by 1.5 and divided by 365 because I typically run every day. And that's the number that I target or aim for every day. If I miss a day, then I run that day out through the next 5 or 6 days that I run, and I catch back up and I start over. If in March I am way ahead of where I need to be for, 750 miles is what I should have left in March, at the end of March, then I will break it down again. Whatever I've run times 1.5 divided by the balance of the year, and I'll calculate again. The reason being, I could hit a hiccup. I could go on vacation and run extra. I could go on vacation and not run. I could get tied up with something in my kids. I could be on site training somewhere and not be able to have the time to run all of my miles in one day and only get a few in. So it allows you the flexibility and the flexibility in your approach, but allows you to keep your eye on the goal. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things that we can all learn through probably this crazy pandemic, but just in life. It's great to have solid goals and know where we're going, but we do have to be flexible in our approach because we all should be learning every day. So flexible in your approach, I think, is what will allow you to get past January 21st, which is usually when most resolutions, which I dislike that word, but we'll stick with them for right now, are gone. So that's the basis for that. So tie game theory, for those of you who have not taken the class, is a class that your company or you individually can engage with at Oxygen. We've got a ton of new followers, so I'm just going to run through this really quick so that if you're interested or this is something that you've been watching and you feel like this is the time you need to engage we can help you. If you are an individual or a company looking to work with a coaching firm, or just you need some help, you don't know what a coaching firm can do for you in the new year, we can start your company or you individually in a class. There are a number of them. Tie Game Theory just happens to be one of them. It's a multi-week class that fits with your organization. And then once you have completed that class, the engagement with Oxygen continues on there individually and from a team perspective on ongoing reinforcement. And that looks different for most companies. Every company is just a little bit different based on their needs. You can take all the classes, you can take one and then continue your ongoing reinforcement, but we have a staff of coaches that is on board and ready to help individuals and companies based on the strengths of your team and what your environment looks like. And that's how you engage with us, other than watching our videos and enjoying what you can get from us. So if your company is in a place where you're frustrated or you're unsure and you're not feeling like this is the right place for you to be on your own, and this is what might be the best thing for you, we would love to have a conversation with you. My coaches are constantly answering social media. I'm answering social media. You can find us on our YouTube channel. Any of those pieces are the best place to get started. So you can find us on Instagram at OxygenEq. You can find us on Facebook at Breathe Oxygen In. You can find us on LinkedIn at OxygenEq. All of those have an active email address. That's the best way to get a hold of us. And we would be happy to chat with any of you. So I wish all of you great success in your 2021 goals. And I hope everybody takes just a little bit of time to breathe life in today. Bye, everybody.